We see a woman wearing a life jacket laying on the sand on a lonely island some distance across this globe. The young woman is Jen. She was unconscious. When she comes to, she finds her pal Brad likewise unconscious. She sprints to him and finds a piece of coral buried in his stomach when she turns him over. Barely alive, afraid, Jen yells for aid but gets no reaction. She pulls off her life vest and rucks her rucksack, dragging Brad farther from the sea. Then Jen takes the coral out of her friend's tummy and presses on the incision with her scarf. She explores the surrounding forest, comes upon a coconut, opens it with a rock, quickly goes back to Brad and feeds him the coconut water, only to discover he is already past death. She calls for him while keeping her face hidden, but her companion is gone and she is heartbroken. There is a little strip of beach on the island Jen and Brad are shipwrecked on, surrounded by thick woodland. Walking the island in circles and back to Brad's body, Jen is in loss. She then ventures into the forest and comes onto a clearing with a red cooler and a bag hung from a tree. Thrilled, she yells once more, expecting to see someone, but no one responds. Looking at the contents of the bag, Jen notes medicine with a 1994 date and knows that whoever was there before her had long gone. She discovers some Coca-Cola bottles in the cooler but swiftly brushes them aside. She then comes onto a thermos in a little metal box. She discovers within the box a deck of cards, a bag of matches and other objects. She also finds an abandoned tent covering a rucksack with an ancient Game Boy, a car radio, a book, and a teddy bear. Jen hears a disturbance from a hollow tree when she gets back to the beach and probes to discover a tropical bird. She picks some leaves to hide Brad and looks about and finds just sand and ocean. That evening it is pouring heavily. She finds protection under some leaves from her jacket. She discovers some tiny fish stuck on the shore early the next morning. She picks them up and discovers a dead shark split in half with pronounced body marks. Looking out at the sea, Jen muses over what would have caused such injuries. She attempts to clean the fish with a flat stone acting as a knife. Though it's a challenging work, she finally gives up and goes back to the cooler to settle down with her stuff. When she opens her diary, the flood has wiped everything inside. Jen comes into a picture of her and her lover in the forest. She discovers another area that terrifies her since it contains a burial site for 3 persons who had visited long before her. When she gets back to the beach, she discovers Brad's already strenuous body. She brings him near the forest, digs a small tomb, and buried him there, laying a piece of wood bearing his name. Spending her first night on the isolated island, Jen improvises a sleeping spot and gets roasted fish ready for dinner. Jen is shocked to see Brad's body has been taken from the grave, disfigured and hauled away by someone or something the next morning while she is searching the beach for more supplies. She glances around expecting to see something, but sees nothing. She picks a piece of wood, sharpens it with a stone into a spear for defense. Night falls once more and Jen, fearful that taking Brad's corpse will attack her, is now totally vigilant to any movement or noise, but nothing happens and all is silent. Jen decides to swim out to investigate what she spots in the distance the following day. She discovers a bucket and a bag. She plunges to search farther and discovers a black hole in the ocean bed. Finding some clothes and sneakers at the beach, Jen brings the bucket and the box. Her third on the island, she changes clothing and puts on the shoes to keep warmer that evening. She opens the metal box once more and studies its contents while seated near the fire, discovering a photo-hidden secret compartment within the box. Hearing the sound of a jet above, she attempts to use the fire to study the pictures. She bolts to grab the flare and fires it, but it doesn't work. She tries again, and this time it goes. She watches to see whether she gets a reply while the flare blazes far away. But Jen spots a humanoid monster rising out of the sea as the flare fades into the horizon. She hurries back to where she was seated, gets her wooden sword, and bolts into the jungle terrified. She settles somewhere to hide and listens for approaching footsteps and rustling foliage. She keeps hiding till she hears the creature go. Jen visits the beach once more the following day. She once more studies the 4 pictures she was looking at the night before and finds they show a family. The last picture shows a woman carrying a bag close to the tree Jen discovered earlier. From the picture, Jen spots 2 brilliant dots far away. She muses over what to do and empties the bag, stuffing Brad's life jackets inside and attempting to float on them. She tries to get on this handmade raft she brought to the ocean, but despite multiple efforts, the suitcase raft cannot handle her weight. She thus tosses the bag and the life jackets back on the beach. Jin sleeps on the hollow tree that night, keeping her weapon handy should the creature resurface. Jin hears the monster approach while asleep inside the trunk at some point throughout the night. She makes no noise even though she attempts to be silent as the beast moves toward rolling the trunk with Jin within. Fortunately, the horror is fleeting and finishes with the object disappearing. Terrified, Jin emerges from the trunk early the next morning and catches a little shark with some tiny fish as bait. She then employs the shark as lure for the already fifth monster that night. She hides somewhere the hanging shark is within her line of sight and observes, thinking the creature will just grab the shark and leave without wanting to pursue her. Jin briefly closes her eyes, then opens them to find the shark gone. Jin looks at the frayed ropes the next morning and notices something far away as she sharpens her sword. That body is floating in the water. Approaching the body, she finds it to be a man split in half with a deformed face. Then Jin hangs the body exactly like she did with the shark. Jin is hiding on the sixth night, observing the monster demolish the body and carry it to the sea. She sees the foot of the monster close by and is still wondering what to do even though she hears the sound of an airplane engine. She keeps silence until the creature leaves. Believing she will be able to relax without the thing visible, Jin gets ready a tarp to improvise a high net in the trees early the morning. Later on seventh night, the temperature starts to change and there is plenty of thunders. Looking for the monster she hears close, she sees a creature during a lightning flash, which regretfully also sees her. She falls fast in the net and nearly hyperventilates when the monster gets near. Jin falls to the ground when the monster pulls the net but manages to flee the beast. She grabs her gun, heads to the beach, and keeps furiously sprinting. Almost capturing Jin, the monster leaps out of the water, but Jin is faster, and the thing goes back to the sea. Attaching once more, the monster rises before Jin, and she strikes with her weapon. The creature tosses her away, but before she can stand up, it kicks her into the sea. Though it vanished, Jin searches for the beast. Now wounded and terrified, she goes back into the woods and seeks recovery atop a tree. Jin to the beach early in the morning to clean her fight-related injuries from the monster. She then gets ready and is shocked to find an inflatable raft with a tent gently approaching the island on horizon. Not trusting what she sees, she swims for the raft and discovers her friend Mia Reed and lover Lucas Griffin among two other survivors of the shipwreck. Jin can hardly believe her fortune when they get to the beach and leap straight into her boyfriend's arms. Lucas tells her that for now everything will be well. After some time, Jin makes breakfast for Mia and Lucas and treats them with a Coke 20 years old. Though Jin cautions about the risk hiding under the waves, they nonetheless find great beauty in the island. Lucas gently calls Jin sweetheart and urges her to cool off. Seeing her closest friends not believe her, she informs them about the sea monster and black hole on the ocean floor where it drags its victims. Jin talks of Zach, whose dead body the creature consumed. Hearing their friend's name, Lucas and Mia exchange ashamed looks. Jin shows a picture of the dead family that exposes the monster's brilliant eyes and clearly recounts all the terror she went through during those days. Lucas and Mia are dubious even with all her reasoning. Mia wonders who buried the grave she thinks exists on the island of the family that resided there. Jin should, they advise, cool off and wait for Brad or someone else to reach the coast. The river does, after all, bring everyone to this island. Jin informs Mia the creature pulled her body beneath and Brad, her lover, perished the shipwreck. Tears streaming, Mia leaves her buddies to try to understand her loss. A little later, the pals are by themselves on the shore. Mia tells her companion how afraid she was to be in the midst of the large ocean while blankly staring at the still surface of the water. Thinking and spiraling with the raft, she counted every day as if they were her last. Jin is certain that risking it on the raft in the ocean is preferable than ending up here eaten by the monster. Her buddy disagrees, though. Lucas is not rushing to get back to the sea. He also experienced challenging times throughout the last few days, but Jin plans to escape the island before evening fall. She advises sailing west since the planes go in that route, hence there may be residents. She then begs the young man to hand her a pocket knife so she may gather as much food as she can before leaving. Opening the pocket knife, Jin discovers crimson liquid streaks on it. She knows something horrible happened on the raft and Lucas and Mia are keeping the truth from her. After just getting food for the week, Jin goes back to her buddies and finds them oddly weak. They tell her they are so tired they cannot swim once more. They believe that any terrifying monster inhabiting the island should not be more perilous than floating on a raft over open sea. Rather, they advise starting a beach fire and waiting for the jets to show up. Still, Jin stands her ground. Before dark, she tries to persuade her pals to board the lifeboat and flee. But Lucas rebels at her and won't go. Jin chooses to swim away from her closest friends as assistants in the water. She crafts a clever scheme. Jin waits for her boyfriend and Mia to let their guard down, then stores the ready supplies in a container and launches the inflatable raft into the sea, braving an effort at escape without them. The pair starts after Jin. After realizing this, she pushes Mia numerous times with her feet while trying to flee them. Lucas finally throws his girlfriend out of the raft, and Mia strikes her head with Jin motionless. By now it is dark and Jin comes to. She gets hooked to a tree to stop yet another escape effort. Mia tells her the island is safe, and they have not seen any creatures since nighttime fell. Mia feels bad about striking her buddy with the oar, but Jin wants to be let go and requests not to hear anything. Since Jin has often misled those close to her before and lost their trust long ago, Mia still finds it difficult to accept her stories regarding the sea monster. Lucas joins the girls after a jungle stroll. Although he tells them he has not discovered any monsters there, Jin is unsettled and insists the monster shows up in the ocean rather than the jungle. Mia chooses to walk on the beach after leaving the couple by themselves. The sight of the fishes dead in the sand horrifies her. Lucas first tries to reassure his fiancée, then chooses to tell her his actual emotions during a chat with Jin. Jin was unhappy when he was having fun on the yacht with his best friends. He believes the girl offers him only discontent and wants to destroy everything once more. After deciding to leave the secure island, Jin asks Lucas to release her once more, appealing to his intellect, but he rejects. Reminding Jin he entirely supports her, he aims to humiliate her. Lucas is sure that Jin will become useless to everyone even if she manages to escape the island alone without his help. Then he berates Jin for wishing to leave the island, leaving her without food and without hope for rescue. Jin says the island has enough of food and that the only reason one should be afraid is the bloodlustful monster. Hearing all of Lucas's remarks, Jin chooses to investigate Zach's actual whereabouts on the raft. A terrified shriek from Mia, attacked by the creature, bursts before he can reply. Leaving Jin fastened to the tree, Lucas grabs a torch and rushes to save Mia. Arriving at the scene, he discovers the sea monster, which has already begun to eat Mia. Lucas quickly pushes him aside even though he strikes the creature with a blazing light. It is too late. Jin hardly manages to break free from the bindings and goes to assist her friends. Grabbing Mia, the monster pulls her underwater. Lucas sees in horror but has no way to intervene. Arriving Jin snatches the stunned Lucas and leads him to the deep of the jungle, where they spend the night. On the island, the 9th day is already under progress. Fearing the creature might be waiting for them down from the tree, Lucas is reluctant to descend. Jin assures him the sea monster never showed out on the coast during the day. The man battles yesterday night's events and attributes Mia's absence on himself. Jin asks for help packing their goods and supplies so Lucas could be diverted from his depressing thoughts and can at last leave the wretched island. Jin cooks her remaining matches, then fishes some using a spear. Before going to get all the required supplies, she chooses to one more stroll to the camp. She takes up the expired pill container once more and gently listens to the island's silence. She loads her stuff and Lucas's onto the raft at last, then launches it into the sea. Once inside, Jin finds that everything is covered in a scarlet liquid, most likely Zach's blood. The girl avoids to reveal the facts, even though she glances nervously at her lover. Lucas rows far off the shore and begins their westward journey, easily seen by passing planes. Lucas then spots something moving underwater, though. Moments later, the sea monster leaps up to assault them. Though Lucas and Jin shut themselves within the raft, the creature keeps attacking from all angles. Since they believe the monster only surfaced at night, they are quite terrified. Jin brushes the sea monster away with her feet after it smashes the raft's bottom and grabs her. Lucas uses his flare pistol to shoot numerous times the monster's head, then spear-style pushes it into the sea. From the hole at the raft's bottom, water begins to trickle in. There's a little quiet, then the sea monster pulls Jin beneath. The monster appears in broad daylight as a huge hybrid between a human and a shark. It pulls Jin gently toward an ocean floor dark hole. Rising above her anxiety, Jin recalls the pocket knife. She wins the creature using it. It swims away, bleeding dark fluids. Then the monster spots Lucas diving in to rescue Jin. The creature snatches Lucas fast, dragging him down the dark hole, even with Lucas trying to resist with a spear. Jin cannot assist him. She steps out of the sea and cries hopelessly. She must return to the island since there are no other choices. The current carries the shattered raft. Jin tries to light a fire and notes in her diary a last message about what transpired in her encounter with the monster. She wants her message to assist any surviving shipwreck. Jin gets ready for a last fight if she finds the beast intolerable on her alone. She shapes tree branches and creates weapons from bones. The monster surfaces to hunt once more at night. After arranging it in a circle of dry sticks and grass, Jin sets it on flame. Confustrated, the beast seeks to flee. Jin gets more sharp sticks and keeps assaulting using this opportunity. The monster throws her away. Jin persistently keeps trying to stab the creature with her spears. Following a savage struggle, the monster snatches Jin and tries to crush her head by squeezing it. Still, Jin stabs the monster's chest with a little bit of wood. Though the monster keeps chasing Jin to the coast, both are seriously damaged. Stop preparing to battle once more. The girl pauses, but worn out, the monster falls. Jin kills the creature with her spear and chops off its body. The horrible night becomes daylight. Carrying the head of the monster as evidence of what happened on the cursed island, which is now on fire, we witness Jin hobbling towards the raft. This will act as a signal for someone to observe from a distance, therefore guiding her towards rescue.